here's a fun little chat you can do. You can pull up either Claude or Gemini or ChatGPT. Just pull up whichever one you've been regularly using, and literally just say, "Hey, tell me everything you know about me." You'll see that it has a context window that is 100% based on everything you ever chatted with it about.
Share the stories untold.
Welcome to another episode of the How Many CTOs Does It Take podcast. I'm Brad Hefta-Gaub, and this is my co-host,
Scott Porad.
And Scott, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, I think it's time for another AI update. It's been about a month or so since we have talked about AI.
Yeah.
And I had some fun with AI this week
Oh.
during a meeting that I was in.
Oh,
I'm a meeting doodler.
Oh, wait, I want to hear this story. You were in a meeting, and unbeknownst to everyone else in the meeting, you were vibe coding away on your latest side project.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But before we do that, we need to play a little.
Let's play again.
We need to play a little game show.
Yeah.
Which is how many of the top 10 articles on Hacker News are about AI?
Top 10. Okay. All right. I'm gonna put in my guess at. I'm gonna put guess, and then you got to do the under or the over. Over or the under. Okay. I'm gonna go 6.
Under.
Ooh.
All right, I'm going to count them up. Let's open up Hacker News here really quickly. I should tell you and our audience, I have been banned from Hacker News for trying to run an upvoting ring.
AstroTurfing.
That happened a few years. That was probably pre-pandemic, actually, that I got banned.
How'd you get caught? Did they use AI? Did they use machine learning to catch you?
Probably, I don't know.
All right, top one is
now,
Anthropic. So that's AI, right?
Yeah, so top one's Anthropic. Now we should probably tell our listeners this is probably going to come out a week or two after we recorded it, so they won't be the same thing you're looking at today. Number one, Anthropic agrees to settle a lawsuit with content creators. So that is one of one. Number two, I comment culture goodbye. What do you think that's about? Probably not AI.
The day I kissed comment culture goodbye. Yeah, I feel like that's not AI.
Number three, making a font of my handwriting. That's not about AI.
No.
Number four, purposeful animations. That's not about AI.
Well, I think you've already won. No, yeah, I think you're going to win.
No, not yet. Not yet. I got to just get. I think no. It's. I said under 6. Number 5, Mentra OS, an open source smart glasses OS. Can we detour on smart glasses for a second?
By the way, I'm confident you won. I think there's only 2 AI articles in the top 10 of Hacker News, so no need to read the rest of them. I'm shocked and stunned, but there's at least one article about VR glasses, no, smart glasses, and another one about VR. So there you go.
Yep. I had a situation the other day with smart glasses.
Oh, okay.
I was having drinks with somebody, somebody I know, an acquaintance. Not quite a friend, not a close friend, but a friend. And we're having an open, safe space conversation about a variety of different things. And we're 35 minutes into our drinks, and I'm like, "Hey, are you wearing smart glasses?" He's like, "Yeah, these are cool." And he takes them off and he shows me, blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking to myself, is he recording this? Is this being recorded right now? Like, what's going on with that? Is there like this whole like consent thing that's going to happen or not? What's going on with smart glasses and consent? I don't want to be recorded talking about how I hate this thing or like this thing or my politics or whatever.
Yeah. Were you in a public space?
We were in a public space.
Oh, well, then the Supreme Court has already ruled on this one.
Oh, what did they say?
Well, you have no expectation of privacy in a public place.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I didn't know that.
I mean, you could be recorded by me sitting next to you at the table beside you, and you can't stop me from doing that.
Okay.
And the security cameras can record you, and the police can ask for those videos. And so basically, you're in a public place, you have no expectation of privacy.
That makes perfect sense. I didn't think of that. Obviously, we know that we're being recorded all the time. So I just thought it was interesting that there was this thing I suddenly found myself looking at, and I was like, whoa, wait a second.
I think that
Okay,
you're
AI.
onto. By the way, okay, I'll just give my quick 2 cents on this. Like, I think that that's a legitimate observation on your part, and one of the things that was the early. So I feel like this is a classic like um I'm going to call it the Overton window, but that usually generally applies to like political views and stuff like that. But if
Mhm,
you just apply it to generally like shift in perceptions and shift in sort of like tolerances, um, I think that my recollection was 5, 6 years ago when Google Glass first came out, they
mhm.
were like, "Oh yeah, the problem with this is people are going to be nervous if they can tell that you're wearing these glasses because they're going to assume that you're recording them or taking pictures of them and stuff like that." And the Snap glasses, the same thing. Like, what? And I just think that somehow already people have kind of just shifted their perspective such that they're going to be like, "Oh, I guess there's pixel tracking me everywhere, so
Hmm.
nothing I can do about it."
Yeah, we should just wear a pixel on our bodies, just get tracked everywhere.
Yeah,
Little RFID.
yeah. All right, AI.
So I vibe coded this week. I vibed hard. I'm a meeting doodler. I was in a big meeting, like a long, 3-hour kind of meeting, and there are like 12 people in there. And I find in those meetings I get really antsy. I can't sit still. And so usually I just have a notepad and I doodle. And if you looked at my doodles, I just draw shapes and curly cues and I'll write the same word 25 times in a row. I mean, it's just nonsense. Like when people are like, "What are you doing over there?" But it's just like, something to keep myself busy
You practice
so
like
that I
signing your married name, Mr. Scott Porad,
I
Mr.
I
Scott
do all
Porad,
I
Mr.
I do
Scott
all that
Porad.
stuff. Yeah, I do all that stuff. And just whatever. And so because I find that I can't explain the bio neuromechanics of this, but it actually just helps me be more calm and listen to what's going on as opposed to being antsy for some reason.
I
And
think there's
so
like
I was
I think the kids nowadays call those fidget spinners.
Yeah, fidget. Yeah, there's those things too. I'm a little bit of a fidgeter, but something about the doodling works better for me. Anyway, I was in this meeting, and the engineering team I'm working on just got all of our engineers licenses to a system called Augment Code, which is like a cursor competitor kind of thing. And that was like someone sent out a message on Tuesday saying, "Hey, everyone's got a license, just go download it and sign in, create an account with your company work account, and it'll all work out." So I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna go check this out." And so I'm just sitting there in that meeting and I download it. It's just a VS Code extension, it's not real complicated. And I was like, well, I'm just gonna try this out. I got an idea for a stupid little app. It's a little tracker, like for counting things. Like let's say you wanted to do 10 push-ups every day. So it's just a calendar, and you can just tap every day, just like crossing out the X in the calendar. It lets you keep track of like, how many days did you do this, and it shows you um, your current streak and your max streak, right?
Love it.
It turns out I'm susceptible to streak loss aversion. A gamification feature that gets me in is when I have a
Mm.
streak going, I don't like to lose it. And
I hear you
so
on that one.
so I did this, and I did the whole thing. I would say I got a pretty okay like V1 done like in 3 hours of giving it a prompt and then paying attention to the meeting and then coming back and looking at it. And I mean, I wasn't fully totally focused on this thing. There was times where I was involved in the discussion and I had to like, you know, kind of halfway close my laptop lid so I could actually pay attention to what was going on. And it was pretty good. Now I did not write a lick of code. I did it 100% AI. I did not
Mm.
I didn't even look at the code. The
Is
only
this
time I
did
looked at the code,
what did it generate for you? You got a website out of it? You got a mobile app? What'd you
oh,
get?
I made a React Native app. I wanted it to be a mobile app and I wanted to do it with React Native. And the only time I looked at the code at all was I wanted to change. There's an icon on the splash screen, like the sort of default, whatever boilerplate React Native thing they use had a default icon. And I actually spent like half an hour on this. I couldn't figure out how to change the icon. I kept on saying, here, I uploaded the image and I said, change out this image with this image. I did it all. It wasn't working. So finally, I kind of had to go look and I realized that I was paying attention to the wrong configuration. And I was changing some icon, but it wasn't the splash screen icon.
Love it.
So, and I'd say it's pretty close to done. And the one thing I haven't really figured out how to do purely through the AI It wrote tests. It was it said it was writing a lot of tests. It said it was running the tests. Um, it was writing documentation. It was doing all sorts of stuff. It was actually doing way more than I really wanted it to do. I didn't want it to write documentation, and I think it did a lot of. It actually took a lot. It made a much more robust UI than I expected to. I didn't tell it anything about the UI. I just said, put a calendar. As we've learned from Michael Natkin and others, and you give it little instructions, right? Little teeny bits, but it made a much more elegant UI than I would have ever made. And but I haven't figured out how to get the AI to run the tests. I mean, I think it
Interesting.
does it sometimes on its own, but if I just say
Mhm.
like run the tests now, like it gives me instructions on how to run the tests. I'm like, no, I want you
Right.
to run the tests.
Right. Right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that like yeah. I'm sure there's a prompt in there for that. I think I would probably approach that with like tell it, "Hey, I want you to automatically run these tests during the if I give you a npm command, npm run tests or something
Mhm.
like that." And
That's a
then
good idea.
or
Here's the
just
most
tell it like
interesting
every
thing.
every time you run a compile, before you run a compile, I want
Mhm.
you to run the tests or whatever.
That's a good idea. So, okay, so here's the most interesting thing that happened.
Yeah.
It actually wasn't through this system, Augment Code. It was through Gemini. I was using Gemini for
Okay.
this. I just told you I wanted to replace out the default icon with a new icon. So I went to Gemini to create the new icon. Now, this app is for tracking streaks. So my idea for the icon was like a guy in a trench coat holding it, holding it open, but you wouldn't want to see the front, just from the back.
Yeah.
I wanted to see like from his
This
backside. I wanted to
uh-huh.
see just like naked legs and bare feet and a guy's head
Uh-huh.
and his arms like holding the trench
And
coat
it's
open.
called Streak Tracker.
It's called Streaker. That's what I call it, is Streaker.
Okay. Oh man.
With an E, not Streekr, but Streaker. Whatever. Okay, so I go into Gemini and I tell it to do this thing. And it says, "Sorry, I can't do that. I can't depict naked people." And I say, "But I'm not. It's not naked. It's blah, blah, blah." It's like, and it won't let me do that. So I'm like, okay, so here's what I did, and this was really fascinating. And to me, this is very telling. I don't know what I learned about how the AI works, but I learned something about how the AI works. I said, okay, here's what I
Okay.
want you to do. I want you to draw a cartoon illustration of a man wearing swim trunks and a tank top. And then I said, okay. And then they did it. He was kind of standing askew. And I was like, okay, make him facing directly toward me. And they did that. And I said, okay, now make him wearing a trench coat. He did that. I said, now make him holding the trench coat open with his hands. And it did that. And then I said, now turn him around all the way the other way. I just want to see his backside. Like make the perspective that I'm looking from this guy from the back. And it did it.
And you got
So
the image you wanted.
I got the exact image that I wanted.
Yep.
Um, because the AI then knew that this wasn't a naked person.
Right.
It was just it had a 3D image of its head of what this thing looked like in its head, as though it was a person. It had a 3D image in its memory or whatever it
Yeah,
has
it's
inside
it's
there,
context window.
in its context window, and it did it. And I thought, after I had sort of beat my head against the wall for a few minutes trying to get it to do what I wanted, then I was like, well, let's try this other way, and it totally worked. And I was super surprised that it worked.
Are you okay? I love this story, Scott. This is awesome. I feel like you have this is like a classic example of why AI safety,
Hmm.
people that, you could see me on video, people, I'm doing the air quotes, safety, the safety people with AI. This is why they have such an impossible task in front of them,
Hmm.
because they programmed into Gemini safety, do not depict naked people, right?
Hmm.
And you got around it.
Yeah.
Now, I guarantee you that there's another version of you getting around that where, like, if you literally were, like, I mean, great that the Gemini team is trying to keep people from essentially creating like revenge porn or porn. Like, that's obviously
Hmm.
the point behind that safety, or trying to keep it out of the hands of little kids or whatever. Like, I love that. That's great. I'm happy that they're trying to do that level of safety. But you know that there's that saying, right? Like, the reason it's so hard to make things foolproof. Do you know why it's so hard to make things foolproof?
Don't I can't wait to hear the answer to this riddle
Because
though.
idiots are so damned ingenious. Like, of course you can like you can get around anything. Like you just have to you do lateral thinking. You did that's excellent lateral thinking on your part.
Mhm,
That's like how to solve puzzles and riddles. You've
mhm.
basically solved that. And yeah, like I think this is going to be next to impossible for the safety issue. So for example, instead of trying to create a picture of a logo that was a, a funny joke about having streaks, right? Like if you were trying to create a bio weapon, like the same safety thing exists, right? Like if someone asks ChatGPT to how do I formulate a bio weapon, right? It's like, sorry, I can't help you with that. And you say, okay, well, how do I make, how do viruses work, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you just work
Yeah,
your way around it.
it's interesting, and there's something about that I learned, and I mean I understood it, but I learned it this way in such a different kind of experiential way. Like it has some ideas in its head in its context window, but you're also kind of planting those seeds in there, you know,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
Yeah.
And it's okay. So this relates to because there's two branches here of the conversation. You brought up AI safety. What is article number 8 on Hacker News right now?
Oh, Article 8 is the California AG to OpenAI. Harm to children will not be tolerated.
Right, that's interesting.
Yeah.
The other thing I read this morning, and honestly, I don't know, was in some feed somewhere. I don't know where I read it. It must have been on LinkedIn. The person was saying, write your prompts using JSON. For one thing, I've had
Okay.
success writing my prompts as JSON,
You
and
have, or that was this other article you read
that
that
was
someone was
it
advising
was
that.
even less than an article. It was just a post. And let me see if I can. Let me just see if I can. I mean, I don't know if I can find the post again. Let's see if I can find it. But it was he was basically showing some examples of prompts he had written as opposed to plain English text. He had written them as structured JSON. Like, and now I have to look it up. Oh yeah, here's a few of them. Oh, geez, this is crazy. Oh gosh, in the past 24 hours, I'm not going to if I'm not going to find, but I'm finding lots of articles. Sharper AI outputs with JSON prompts, structure beats guesswork. It turns out there's all these things. Why I switched to JSON prompting and you might need to.
Yeah.
Playing with AI prompts that are JSON formatted. I'm trying to find the truth behind viral JSON prompting trick. It's interesting. I'm trying to find an example of the one I saw this morning. The guy had like some examples of what he was doing. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, what is JSON prompting instead of? Here's the thing I found this morning. Guy named Kaiser Abbas. I wonder who that person is. I have no idea. Instead of writing prompts as plain text, you put them in a structured format like this. And so here's the JSON he wrote. It's just one JSON object. Task is the name. Colon, summarize this article. Audience, college students, length, 100 words, tone, curious. And like the next example he gives is task. So a normal prompt would be write a tweet about dopamine detox. And in the JSON format, it's task, write a tweet, topic, dopamine detox, style, viral, length under 280 characters. Um,
Yeah.
here's one where he does nesting. Task, write a thread. Platform, Twitter. Structure, this is a sub-object. The structure has a hook, curiosity driven. Body, 3 insights with examples. CTA, ask a question, right? That's pretty interesting. So, and then he gives some other examples, the same kind of thing.
Did you
So
and just to clarify, did you try this or you're just saying this is something you ran into
literally this
recently? You
morning
haven't
I
tried
saw
this
it.
yourself?
I saw it this morning, and I thought it was. I did not try it to answer your question directly. I saw it this morning, and I thought, well, that's kind of interesting because you're being
Yeah.
slightly more explicit about the attributes of the response that you want.
Yeah. That is interesting. I find so here's an interesting let's contrast that. So uh here's a couple of prompts that I gave AI just today, like a couple hours ago. Literally a random error that happened that showed up in our observability. Some user of ours had some unexpected crash in our application. I literally just copied the straight data out of our OpenTelemetry log file, which included essentially it was a JSON object itself, but it was basically like a stack trace with enough details. I literally just copied and pasted that error into ChatGPT. I didn't say what does this error mean. I just pasted the error, right? And um, boom, I got like the answer. I didn't ask a question. I just put the error, and it basically came back and gave me the answer.
What was the
So
question?
I didn't even. I just gave it. I gave it. It. I literally just gave it a blob of text that was effectively an error. My question, without asking it, my question was, tell me everything you can about this error. What does this mean? Like, but I
Hmm.
didn't say that. I just gave it
Hmm.
this text, and it basically gave me a super detailed answer.
Hmm.
The error you have pasted is the following. Here's what it means. Here's how it happened. Here, it included references because it was like an error. It was like a crash that occurred inside of a library that we use, Pixie.js. Like it had links to references to the Pixie.js documentation, and it gave 4 suggested workarounds to making that error no longer happen.
Hmm. How do you think it got that answer? Do you think it, like, for instance, do you think there was a Reddit post out there or a Stack Overflow or whatever the kids are using these days for, like, that said, I had this problem, can someone help me? And then other people responded and then they said, oh, this is the solution. Or do you think it just read the docs and figured it out? Like, how do you think it got to that answer?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, first of all, like what I like to say is it has read every line of every documentation of every library out there. It's read all of that.
Hmm.
It's read every Stack Overflow post. It's read all of them.
Hmm.
So certainly, uh, and I think like the particular error did that. It was definitely the case that the particular error had some pretty obvious, kind of had some obvious anchors in it. It was like a canvas unavailable or something like that, right? So it
Hmm.
was like it was something that like uh, if I hadn't, so it was like error canvas renderer is not implemented.
Hmm.
Um, And what's interesting is this stack trace didn't have any reference to Pixie.js at all, but it said error canvas not implemented. Now, what it does know is I talk to this instance, like in its context window, it knows I'm using Pixie.js. It knows that because I've told it I'm using Pixie.js all the time, right? So it has that in its context window that this is probably Brad asking about this app that he has that uses Pixie.js, right? So it's already got like probably Pixie.js, probably this web app, probably Svelte, and Canvas renderer. Okay, that's definitely like Canvas renderer plus all this other context about Brad. Boom. And then it's not like it does a search, right? You have to remember like these things kind of like the way the LLMs work, my understanding of the way the LLMs work, and I'm no expert for sure, but the closest thing that I can understand the way they work is they're a little bit like what we think of as neural networks, where essentially when a signal like you put in a signal and it kind of goes through the essentially the transform, and that results in other points in the mesh lighting up, and then that's what kind of causes it to be able to come up with its answer.
Hmm.
So the string canvas renderer is going to hit a particular piece of this massive network that has already preloaded with a bunch of context that I've given it about Pixie.js and all this other stuff. And so that's why it's able to kind of like quickly figure that out.
Hmm.
And it's not like it's definitely didn't get that exact string of text from some Stack Overflow article. It's more that because this string of text includes like references to our domain and
Hmm.
references to, like it's svelte, so it's been pre-compiled into in sort of like this whole svelte tree shaking stuff. So it's like these random strings of
Hmm.
characters for these minified JS files, right, that have been compiled from the TypeScript. So there's very little signal there. There's very little signal that would show up exactly
Right.
character for
It's
character
certainly
on
not
on a
search. But
It's certainly not search.
the network had to somehow understand what yeah, look, frankly, I'm going to just be perfectly honest. The way these AI models and networks work, it's above my pay grade. I don't get it. I mean, I'm sure I could learn it, but I don't totally understand them. And so somehow it had been primed somehow, or with some combination of letters you put on the back of a postcard, that this was some response to this thing. So here, this is what I'm getting at. I have a
Yeah.
tactical question, and then I have a meta question. My tactical question simply is about how it knows that you use Pixie. Are you is and this is just about ChatGPT and maybe others. I presume you're not continuously using the same chat in ChatGPT. You're opening up chat window after chat window, right?
Correct.
But
Correct.
so somehow with
But it has my whole history of every chat.
right, so it includes all of your chats as part of like your context window.
Correct.
Interesting.
And one of the things that they've been doing, and they kind of announce this with each new version, basically, um, they keep solving for larger and larger context windows.
Yes.
And so they're able to kind of just go. I suspect what they do. Like here's a fun little chat you can do. You can pull up either Claude or Gemini or um, ChatGPT. Just pull up whichever one you've been regularly using,
Mhm.
and literally just say, "Hey, tell me everything you know about me."
Yeah. This
And you'll see that it has a context window that is 100% based on everything you ever chatted with it about.
Yeah, and I've been in ChatGPT. There's a place somewhere in the settings or whatever that you can tell it to forget. It tells you, it lists it, and you can say forget that and forget that and forget that. What's interesting is
Sure.
if you're doing some sort of like diverse types of things. I mean, my ChatGPT, if I just looked at I'm going to bring it up right now to tell you, last three ChatGPT chats. I'll tell you what I got if you'll tell me what you got.
My last three were JS Pixie Canvas renderer error, like the one I just told you
Okay.
about. Identify browser from UA. That was another one. I literally just copied and pasted a user agent string. I didn't even say what browser. I just copied and pasted a user agent string, and it basically came back and gave me the exact version of what browser on what OS it was running. Like I was just like awesome. And then like uh update wave books. I was doing my accounting for my LLC and updating my latest expenses from being charged for you know
Okay, let me tell you what I got. Used furniture sites comparison.
love it.
So there's Cherish and there's First Dibs. These are the two big things in like used furniture. And I wanted to know that I
I
wanted
did not know that.
if you're if not for I mean there's obviously Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace, but if you got something nicer you want to sell, those are the kind of places that people go to. I want to know comparison. This is a good one. Artist Joseph com- clarification.
Okay.
My parents have a piece of artwork that I was trying to remember the name of the artist. And all I could remember was the artist's first name and that he was from Seattle.
And the style of art.
I didn't even know the style of art. It turns out his name wasn't even Joseph. It's Jacob.
Love it.
It couldn't find the person I was looking for. The third one is depiction explanation. Oh, this was good. This was good. I just uploaded a picture and I said, "What is this a depiction of?" My friend George not really inherited because his parents are still alive, but got a piece of furniture from his parents that was very, very, very antique. We didn't know it might even be from the 1800s. Like it was very, very old. And it's got this biblical looking carving on the outside, but we couldn't tell what it was. And I just
Love it.
uploaded the picture and I was like, "What's this a depiction of?" And it gave me an answer. So my point is, here's my point. My context window has all sorts of random stuff in it.
Mine does too, by the way. I mean, so I will just say like mine's got a lot of business things, but I've like got multiple different projects I'm working on, so they're all over the place, and
Mhm.
not all of them are Pixie and not all of them are Svelte and so there's a ton of like random tech questions about technology that's all over the place. Um, but it also knows about me because I've worked with it on like creating my own personal brand
Mhm.
website. I certainly do a lot of stuff with the How Many CTOs podcast with it. I use ChatGPT, for example, to like summarize our podcast episodes or help me write titles or whatever, so it's got that. And then it's got random stuff I just ask it, like I don't ever use search anymore,
Right.
I just like what here's a random one. MLB wild card explained. Like I used to be way more of a baseball fan when it was just one wild card team and basically it was just like and now they've got three wild cards. I didn't even know they had three wild card teams, and we went from a single elimination game to apparently a best of three for the wild card
Mhm.
round. I was like, what is going on with this, And so there you go, wild card explanation, or Jimmy Smits Andor rule. That's a good one.
I mean, I got
Do you know who the Jimmy Smits? Do you know who Jimmy Smits Andor role
no, I have
is?
no idea.
Yeah, because Jimmy Smits is not in Andor.
All right. I mean,
But it's not. It's Benjamin Bratt, and I'm so bad with the actors that I thought Benjamin Bratt was Jimmy Smits. Now that being said, they look similar and they're playing the same character in two different timelines. But there you go. So there's definitely random stuff in here.
there's not dates and times on these chats. I don't see anywhere. You want to know what my very first ChatGPT chat is?
Wait, I'd have to scroll down for like 30 minutes to get to my first one. Go ahead, tell
Oh,
me the one.
I had to scroll just to, I don't know, I didn't scroll 30 minutes. I just scrolled for a little bit and I got there.
All right, tell me. I'm curious.
It's about Jira.
I love it.
What is the JQL to select an issue and all of its children? That was the first thing I used. And fascinating. That's the first thing I used ChatGPT for.
I love it. I love it.
And the next thing I used it for, I asked it about summarizing some medical records. Can I upload 1,000 pages of medical records and have you summarize it for me? I was actually asking in this case what it was capable of doing in terms of can you read these things? Can I give you human handwriting? Would that work? Like I wanted to know this is early days of ChatGPT. The third one, I wanted to know Sacagaweas, which I think is now pronounced we don't pronounce it right. We pronounce it the white man's way. I wanted to know if she has any living descendants. And it turns out nobody knows.
I apparently asked ChatGPT while my wife and I were watching uh Bridgerton or something, or like not Bridgerton, but whatever, Queen Charlotte, the thing. I asked who was the king after George the Third? And then I like went this
Oh,
deep dive on like explain, what was the relationship between Queen Victoria and George the Third, and the all the lineage of the British houses. I'm always kind of curious about that stuff.
well, let's finish on this more interesting question.
Okay.
These models consumed a lot of content to somehow, one way or the other, get you the answer to your error.
Yes.
And I'm assuming it did that because somebody produced documentation and or somebody wrote a Stack Overflow or a Reddit post saying, I'm having this problem, can you help me out with it, etc.
Hmm.
And what happens in, say, n number of years when nobody's writing those things anymore?
Hmm.
They're not writing them because the way you used to have to get an answer, you had to post a question to get an answer, and now you can
Yeah.
just get the answer. What happens when the content is not out there any longer?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there like a decay or a cliff or something like that that might happen with this intelligence? If essentially human generated content is its is the raw material of its intelligence, and humans stop generating content,
Yeah.
is it going to get dumber?
Well, isn't this, didn't you kind of like early on kind of call it, isn't it Oberus, the snake eating its own tail or something like that?
Yeah, or oh, that's right, the snake eating its own tail. It's a little slightly different. That's it's consuming its own content, so it just becomes. But it has to get new knowledge in there.
But it can't know
There
the
has to be
difference.
new.
Like so much content is now being generated by the AI, so it's like it can't tell. Like first of all, we're going to go through a phase where all the content being generated. It's not that the content is going to stop being generated. It's that all the content's going to be being generated by AI, right? Like you've seen the joke
Yeah,
with the guy like, oh, this is awesome. I gave the AI three bullet points to write an email for me that looked like I wrote this whole email. And then that's one frame. And then the next frame is the guy like getting the email. He says, "This is so awesome. I got this long email from this business contact. I just gave it to AI and it summarized it into three bullet points for me."
yeah, yeah. Nice.
So it's like
That's
the
nice.
humans are just talking in bullet points through a conduit that is AI generated like text and AI
Hmm.
summarized text.
Yeah, we need people. I guess we still need people to be writing books and blog posts and songs and making videos, like real humans doing that, to get more knowledge into the system. Otherwise,
Well, and to be
I mean,
fair, this podcast and all our podcasts, if they haven't already been sucked up and pushed into the models, they will be not too
yeah.
long from now. They're still continuing to scrape and suck everything from the internet. And there are certainly things that are still being created anew. But I think that we're kind of like, if you could kind of draw the overlap, it's like, okay, well, we're more and more content is no longer being human generated. It's now being AI generated, and the amount of human generated content is getting less and less and less. And then, right, the eventually that will you're predicting that eventually people will stop creating new content. I think that's going to take a lot longer. Um,
Well,
I
I'm
think that
not
it
necessarily predicting that. I guess I'm just trying to say is like intelligence is created through sensing the world,
Mhm.
right? And the only sense of the world that computers can have is what it finds on the internet, right?
Right.
And so if people stop putting stuff on the internet, it stops getting smarter.
I think the question is, do people stop putting stuff? I think that's an interesting question. I think that we're a long ways away from people stop creating stuff. But
But we're not putting Stack Overflow questions on the internet anymore. We're just putting them right into the chat.
yeah,
And Stack Overflow had a
yeah,
feedback loop where it said, "Here's the correct the question asker went and put a green check on it whenever it answered the question, right?" So there was a feedback loop there saying, "Yes, this is the correct answer to this question."
yeah,
And I guess ChatGPT doesn't have that. When I find the correct answer, I don't always come back and say that was it. Great, thanks. I just close the window.
yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny when we talked to John Helm about this, one of the things he went on that whole tangent about like empiricism, right? And the idea that it's what you just said, that like intelligence comes from experience, right? And like
Hmm.
of course he like Aristotle and John Locke and David Hume and all
Hmm.
right, all this like classic John Helm philosophical rant and the meaning of mind, right?
Hmm.
So the I think that if John was here, he would say, "Okay, you're asking the question, does intelligence cease to exist if it no longer has new experiences to absorb?
Hmm. Right.
If you no longer have things to experience, then you can't have empiricism." Now, I think that there's a more likely outcome is there's a backlash to the synthetic, and that we start to like head towards like like things that we know to be genuine, things like I'm only like there's this question about like if the AI gets so good that Brad gets lazy and still says, "Yes, Scott, let's record an episode," but and it's actually I just throw my AI version of myself to do the episode, at what point are you going to be like, "Hey, God damn it, Brad, why did you come record the episode? It was obvious it was your AI, and I do these so that I can actually talk to you." And then you're like,
Yeah.
"We're gonna have to start recording these podcasts in person. I will only record episodes if you and I meet on the boat because that's the only way I'm going to believe it's you." I think
Yeah.
that's going to
I mean,
happen.
it's there's that, and this gets about information on the internet. Like we're getting to this point where you literally can't believe anything that's out there, and I guess you just believe whatever you want to believe. All right, Brad. I don't know what got anywhere today.
This was an oddball, but we definitely talked about some really interesting trends in AI. And I love to hear that you did your vibe coding. That was cool. And I want to hear about your push-up streaks or whatever it is you're trying to streak on.
I'll let you know. There's probably already 500 streaker apps out there. I don't think the world needs another one. I just needed something to make.
That's Well, that's a whole different podcast episode. It's called Bespoke for Yourself Apps. Like the app stores go away and everyone just turns to the app generators like Lovable of the world and they make their own custom version because your app is the one streaker app that has a cool picture of a dude with a trench coat.
That's right. All right. Until next week, Brad.
Until next week.
I'll talk to you soon.
Bye. This episode of How Many CTOs Does It Take podcast was edited by Saffron Hefta-Gaub. Our theme song was AI generated by Brad. Please follow us on all the social media platforms at How Many CTOs Pod. You can find us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, X, TikTok, and Patreon, or at our website at howmanyctospod.com. And remember to rate, review, and subscribe on the podcast platform of your choice. Thanks for listening.